Hey, look at that. Look at this ugly mug. Well, actually, it's not that ugly. It's older. This thing's getting grayer. The more I look at myself, I'm pretty fucked. Hey guys, Dell will be joining us later. He's doing the fatherly duties, I believe, and he'll be jumping in after the fact. But we have my other co-host slash video game dude. Look at that, Mr. Greg Ha
What's up, guys?
from I Like
What is up,
Collectibles. Yeah, not much, not much. We're gonna have a. You know what? I'd be kind of looking forward to this show.
I have two.
There's something about we've been talking about nostalgia on the show for a lot. We just did it with old toys from the 80s. And then we talked about last week, we talked old PCH books with Code Blue and Crime City Comics. Today, we got two dudes. One guy, as he says, quote, he's a hoarder of good stuff. He is. And the other one, he sells and he does mods. And it's to me, it's a cool business to do what you love, right? What's the saying? If you do what you love, it's not considered work. So here we go. We're gonna bring in Till Paris from Broken Arcade.
IG programs.
Well, yes, this guy's all right. We'll talk about him in a little bit. We also got Gilly Gill, 8-bit Attic.
How's it going? How's everybody doing?
Good, man. You know what? There's nothing says more like having a good time, drinking big gulps, and playing video games. You know, I found out in the green room that I am still the oldest one in the group. I was kind of hoping that Till would kind of match me, but I'm even still a couple years older than that guy. So it is what it is, man. You know, but at the same time, we do have we have Angela Gonzalez, which you guys don't know. She's a there's a nursing home in Prairie, Texas, that watches us every Wednesday at 9:15. Nice. So they all go in the commune and they put us up on TV and they all watch it. And it's so you want to talk about retro?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is, right? It's kind of cool. But so for many of you guys don't know, so Greg, you've seen him on the show. As a matter of fact, we've seen more of Greg the past couple of times this month than we cared to, apparently, right, Greg?
Yes.
But this guy also has an eBay store, and he has a shitload of retro games. And what I mean by retro is not only NES, but he has Atari, TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis, and all that stuff that you know makes me pop a tall boy. You know what I'm saying? Because I love this shit. Gilly Gill downstairs over there from 8-bit Attic. He not only sells on IG, but he also does mods. Ones I normally see is little Game Boys or DSs, and he changes out the shell and screens and makes them brighter and all that stuff. Who knew? I had no idea. Then you have Till. Till's a class of his own. If you haven't seen him on Instagram, this guy has, is it a garage, Till, or a warehouse?
It's a garage. It's my garage at home.
This guy has a garage full of games, art, the actual arcade games of every single time I watch him. I go, oh my God. I haven't seen or heard of that game in over 35 years or how long it's been. Nostalgia brings some joy back to us. And it's hard to pinpoint what it is, whether it be old cartoons, toys, video games, a smell, right? When you smell something like, oh, I remember going to a carnival. I remember this and this and that. I smell popcorn. Every single time I smell popcorn or rain on concrete. Reminds me days when I used to go in the summer in Mexico. It's just something about nostalgia that's absolutely beautiful. But people, now that we're older with money, we're buying the nostalgia back, right? Especially those who were not able to, maybe your parents weren't able to afford that video game, but your best friend had it. So you were there all the time playing it. Now that we're older and we have some cash, we're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to buy that game I never had as a kid. And guys like Gil and Greg are like, yes, I want you to buy that game you never had from me. Because, I too need to eat. So that being said, and this is for mainly for those guys. Like I said, Phil says, well, we'll get to Phil. Phil's a horse. This guy just now, mind you, he also builds and he repairs a lot of these games that he actually plays. So he's not just an author. He's just working. Um, what do you guys sell most of? What platform do you guys sell most of on your streams on your eBay?
Want to start it off, Greg?
Yeah, I can start it off. I'd say it comes and goes, but right now, older Nintendo stuff like N64, Super Nintendo sell well. The handhelds, which it sounds like Gil specializes in, always sell well too. Handhelds are great.
Yeah, Greg's right on the bullseye. Right now, it seems to be Nintendo, NES, Super NES, N64, GameCube. But a lot of people want to just grab and go as well. So handhelds, people want them brighter. People want them to shine. So, any type of modifications when it comes to the LCD screen, and when it comes to the buttons, things like that. No one wants to walk around with batteries anymore. So just putting a lithium rechargeable battery in there, Type-C charger, things like that. That's kind of what they want now.
Do you also do where you can put in a charger so it's just USB charged? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Really, really good batteries out there right now, and everything's going Type-C. So Type-C chargers pretty much for a lot of those handhelds.
It's how about, see, I was thinking about getting back into Sega. Sega was my thing, NES and all that stuff. And I grew up as an Atari kid. That I'm assuming Till Atari, right? You're Atari kid growing up.
Yeah, it's the first console I had, VCS or 2600. I guess it came out in '82. Yeah.
When I started, I posted a couple games that I was selling at the time, and Greg helped me sell them. I had Texas Chainsaw Massacre for Atari, and I had Halloween, and I didn't realize how expensive these things were. And then I started going down the rabbit hole. Oh, what 2600 do you have? You have the double barrel Guazamazoo, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, there's different 26. There's different 2600s. It's the one with the thicker sides and the thicker rounds, and this is more expensive. I'm like, wow.
Wooden, Sixer, Vader, yeah.
I was like, I don't know. It's whatever's in my garage. And right away, once you start hearing that shit, I go straight into the garage. I'm like, I don't know. Is it the edge sharp? Is it rounded? Oh, I got the poor man's Atari. But the fact I even have an Atari at this age, at this stage in my life, well, I'm impressed. It's still there. Now, I broke every single fucking controller known to man. I snapped those things off like there were no tomorrow. I actually think I had an indentation in my hand, that square indentation in my hand from playing Atari all those years. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm assuming Sega runs pretty well in your guys' shops and your lives.
Sega's definitely making a big comeback, especially the Genesis. At one period of time, when I have time off, I'll go picking. I'll go to garage sales, thrift shops, pop-ups, things like that. And I used to always pass up on Sega because Sega just wasn't moving, and I wasn't a big collector. But now it's in pretty high demand. A lot of the big Sega games, especially some of the seismic games, some of the old school classic run and gun shooters, beat 'em ups, things like that. I wish I held on to a few of those.
What's the first game that pops in your mind, Till, when I say Sega Genesis?
I don't know. Didn't play it much. I mean, I could think of Outrun, but I don't really play it. Sega was that was for me. I think maybe high school. A buddy had it. I had a ColecoVision and Television, Atari, Vectrex, so it was super old school. And Sega was like next level. That's where you started getting NES and Sega, where things started advancing. Where you get into, I don't know, if it's 64-bit or 16-bit, graphics radically changed. It actually was good graphics, comparatively.
Yeah.
It is true. When Genesis first came out, I was blown away. And the first thing I think about when I think of Genesis is Ultra Beast and then Golden Axe. Those two for me are the. I would just get the Genesis just to get that, right? And when I actually asked Greg, "Do you have one?" He goes, "Which generation?" I'm like, "Fuck, there's generations. Come on, man. I don't know, the old one. It's ridiculous." So what about you guys? What's the first thing that pops in your mind, Gil? Sega.
It has to be Streets of Rage. I didn't get into Genesis until later on. I had friends that had them. I had friends that had the Sega Master, so I had the Genesis. I was more of a Nintendo kid because that's just what we had. But when I go to a friend's house, I remember playing Streets of Rage, Gunstar Heroes, and Street Fighter with the 3-button controller where you had to press the start button to go over to kicks. Press the start button to go over to punches. And that just made me love my NES just a little bit more.
What about you, Greg?
Yeah, no, those are all great ones. For me, it's definitely Sonic. I remember the first time I ever saw a Sega, it was Sonic the Hedgehog running around that little track. And it was, I grew up on Atari and NES. So when first time I saw that, it was ridiculous. Seeing something so 3D looking and so fast, and it was crazy.
The fascination of video games where you would have to, you ask your parents for some cash, you go to the arcade with some buddies, you run your stupid dollar in the machine, get your 4 quarters, and you try to pick a game you're decent at, because if not, you would blow your money too quick, right? And God forbid you go play Star Wars, because Star Wars to me was the first 50-cent game that came out, because you get to actually sit down inside the little booth.
Quarter eater.
Oh, 50 cents. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to spend 50 cents on this. I could be playing, that's crazy. And speaking of Star Wars, because Till actually has, you have a stand-up, right, Till, of Star Wars?
I have a stand-up Star Wars, yeah. Stand-up one. Not the same. The sit down was always the best, but
right. Isn't it sitting down because you're in the cockpit of the stupid X-Wing. But there's this one game, and it drives me crazy. And I feel like sometimes I'm the only one who played it. I don't know if you guys remember Crossbow. Crossbow is literally, it's a crossbow. It's one of those games that the gun or the crossbow was, as you point it and you shoot. It's like the revolver games, right? You kind of just point and shoot. And Crossbow was, you have to, people slowly walk across the screen and shit's coming at it, and you have to make sure you shoot down every single thing. If not, it'll kill one of your guys. And then as you advance the next screen, you get less and less people. Shit like that. You need more than $1, man. And if you got lucky, you got $1 from your pops, I'm fucked. It all of a sudden it's not that much fun looking over your buddy's shoulder as he got $20, and I'm like, well, that's
he won't have it for long.
Oh yeah, he won't have it for long. Wait till Dragon's Lair comes out for 75 cents. Forget about it. When Dragon's Lair came out, it was like, quote me if I'm wrong, Tail. Was it 75 cents when Dragon's Lair first came out?
It was one of the first 50-cent games, but operators could configure it to charge even up to $1 or more. So I would go to some places it'd be $1, and most places it was 50 cents. But yeah, that was painful. I mean, those are negotiated plays, like you said. Do you go in and play Galaga and Pac-Man and get a little time, or do you play a couple seconds of Dragon's Lair? And sometimes it was a bit of both,
So when the NES came out, I'm gonna say Atari. It came out, and the Pac-Man, and all that. But when the NES came out with a better rendition or better graphics than Atari, to be able to play these, Double Dragon, for example, you used to play that in the arcade. Now you can play it at home. Oh my God! How much money am I saving here? I have no cost of how much it cost. I don't remember how much a video game cost in the 80s. I don't. I, I I rented a lot of games back in the day when you could rent a game, go home, beat it, and then return it the next day.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much games were. They're always behind the glass. Because
It's funny you bring that up, and it's an argument that I see a lot on a lot of forums, on a lot of boards and stuff like that. Communities saying like all these DLCs are so crazy. Game's not done yet. Games were cheaper back in the day. No, they weren't. Have you ever looked at any of those like Funkoland, old school, on papers or KB Toys or Toys R Us? Madden 92 is like $65. Killer Instinct $79.
Wow.
Skate or Die, $60. They were just as expensive then as they are now.
Yeah, they were.
that is true, isn't it? Yeah, I worked at KB, and I don't know. I think I might have had some sticky fingers back in my old days. I hope my old managers are watching, because I'm gonna be fucked. I actually might ask for a job since I'm out of one. Actually, KB's no longer exists, people. So just let you guys know.
They still have pop-ups. KB still has pop-up stores. They're back.
You kidding me? Really?
No, I've seen a few like in malls. Not like the full-size ones they used to have, but they have like just like Toys R Us doing little pop-up stores again.
Yeah, because I know that Toys R Us is coming back, and that was my torture, because I couldn't afford shit. So you just kind of go window shop for kids, right? You look around and go, yeah, I can't have that. But I know somebody who does. It's always that guy down the street.
Yeah.
He always hated, but you always loved, because he had all the games you could play. How about Atari? You guys still? I mean, does Atari sell for you guys?
For me, a little bit. I mean, I have a lot of Atari, and a lot of it's not listed, to be honest with you. I have, I'd probably say a couple hundred games, and I might have like 10 listed right now.
Okay, it's just not that big of a deal. How about you, Gil?
It depends. I think some of the more popular titles that are starting to go up. You mentioned a few of them earlier. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I recently just saw one. It was pretty nice high sell. Halloween. Those wizard games. Some of the higher ones. And then of course the 58 and 70. Was it 52 and 7800 series? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Those move once in a while, but they're not asked for. Usually when I have live sales, I very rarely ever get asked for Atari, which is unfortunate, because there were some really good games back then.
Yeah.
It's maybe I sold too early. Maybe I should have kept on to my Halloween and my Texas, because
I definitely would recommend.
I don't. Well, thanks, Gil. Appreciate it. Now I feel like shit. But is video games like anything else? Does it have it's like, oh, it's up here and then it drops and then it goes back up again, and
The bubble?
Yeah. Is it the same thing with video games?
There was one, and Greg, please keep me honest here. There was one recently when everybody was out of work during the pandemic era. They're sitting at home, and what do you want to do? You want to just play some old school games. So the market just went through the roof, and more recently now that I think things are kind of, settling back down, over a year or so, the markets have been kind of going up and down, up and down. I would say maybe in the winter, come like the late winter, it kind of dropped a bit there. But I think the biggest one was probably the classic series of gaming consoles, the NES Classic and the PlayStation Classic, NES Classic. When they came out, everybody started thinking, hey, I have some of this stuff upstairs in my attic. I have some of this stuff downstairs in my basement. Everything's collectible. So someone sitting home with a $10 game thinks it's worth $10,000. Things go a little crazy then.
Yeah.
Well, that was the same with arcade games too. I'm out searching, constantly scouring Craigslist and OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, the auctions, and prices just went crazy. People trying to sell Miss Pac-Mans for like, $4,000. and that's a $500 game. Yeah, anywhere between $500 and $1,200 for like a pristine, perfect, Miss Pac-Man. But people were selling stuff insane prices, and just as you mentioned, Gil, it's gone down. Finally, things are becoming more realistic. You can go on Craigslist and not freak out, and because there's always that guy selling something for just insane.
Absolutely.
I never thought about that. Actually, I never really thought about the actual arcade games also having a fluctuation. Interesting.
Till, would you say that those new arcade one-ups kind of made it more popular again to collect original cabs?
I think there was always a base community of those who were trying to build and live off that nostalgia of the classic art pieces, and then the advent of the one-ups, I think, did spark an interest where you had some people, well, what if I could get a real arcade game? I might have looked around. So there's a lot more people collecting, and I don't know if it's because I'm online more and I'm more exposed to it, or if it was always going on, but there's a pretty big base of people who are nostalgic for these old games, and one up is a testament to that. I mean, look what they've come up with. Whether you're a purist or not, the guy having the most fun is I mean, that's the way to be. And people are buying and playing their old classic games. You're hearing those sounds, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It really solves a big problem of bringing that nostalgia back. But I think that it did bring in quite a few more collectors. But once they realize that the CRTs break and you have a lot of problems, it really deters a lot of people, because that's pretty daunting.
Yeah,
and they can be dangerous in that sense too. But yeah.
So you're always scouring for people who are selling certain arcades that are like damaged, need a little help, get it out of my house. It's been sitting in my garage for 7 years. My wife wants to divorce me, and I got to get out of here. Are those the ones you're like, oh yeah, I'm in?
Yeah, I mean, a buddy of mine, Gene from Vintage Arcade Superstore in Los Angeles, he could sell a Dragon's Lair for $10,000. And you might think like, well, that's way too much money, but you're getting a warranty, you're getting a perfectly restored game, and it's been looked through and it's in great shape. Myself, I'll get the one for a few $1,000s that I can clean up myself, and obviously the guarantor of any kind of warranty or keeping it going. So that's more what I look for, since I can fix it myself. Or there's a lot of people in the hobby are very supportive, just as in any of these hobbies. There's a lot of great people and kind of help each other to find parts, trade parts, or I'll have a buddy call me up. Hey, you were looking for that one game. I think I saw one in Northern California. So it really helps. And yeah, so I go for the cheaper games that might have a little bit of dings and need some work. And a lot of them, it's not that they don't need that much work. When they don't turn on, that could be anything.
Right. It's kind of funny. How cool is the community when they actually help out one another and say, hey, I think I saw a piece that you're missing. Right. I think I know where you can find that. That's just so cool. People looking out for each other, because it's all the same passion, and we all want to see you succeed in gaining that game up and running again. I'm assuming it goes for everything, for all you guys. Gil, someone reach out to you going, hey, I heard you've been looking for XYZ. I know you can find one. Right?
Yeah. And it's funny too. It's cross community as well. It's not just the gamers helping gamers, the gamers helping comic guys. I don't really collect comics, but I know this guy's selling, or the gamer helping the toy guy. Hey, this guy has a bunch of Mad Balls or a bunch of Masks toys. You should just check him out. I think he's selling it for a pretty neat price. So yeah, I mean, it not only is it in the community, it's also cross community as well. But also across the country, like if I saw something in Greg's areas, hey Greg, man, this guy's up here and he's selling it, but it's like local pickup. Definitely go pick it up. It's kind of how we are.
Yeah.
It's a community of honestly, this is the kind of community that you want to be part of.
Yeah.
Because it makes you want to thrive and keep going forward.
Circling back to the pricing thing, it's a real interesting thing, because COVID happened pretty early in the infancy of when a lot of gamers became collectors, right? There was like a transition from when you were a gamer in the 80s to now you're collecting this stuff from the 80s and you're looking for the old sealed games and you're looking for the high grade stuff. And that was, in the comic community, people have been doing that for 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
In the gaming community, it's more of like the last 10, 15 years that all the gamers from when they were kids, they've grown up and now they're looking for that. So I think the pricing, it peaked in 21 when like everything was peaking around then for collectibles, right? Sports cards, Magic the Gathering,
Pokemon,
like Till said, arcade, like everything that hobbyists are looking for were peaking, and it just kind of coincided with that. And that's why of all of the industries, we saw video games almost crash the hardest. Where some of these prices, there was, Mario 64 in a 9.8 grade went for over $1 million, and it's going for like a quarter of that price now. It came down 75% since that sale. So I think a lot of people were, super worried about it, but I think it's the market trying to set itself. You know what I mean? It's it just hasn't had the time to get a real good foothold. It's still there, and I think it's going to come back up again. So I think this probably is a good time for a lot of people to get in and finally get some of those games that were going for exorbitant prices 2 years ago. It's crazy the drops that I've seen, because I collect sealed. That's what I collect, like sealed Nintendo, sealed Super Nintendo. I do get some things graded, some things I just have up on my shelf that aren't, and the prices I've seen drop like crazy. But again, it doesn't worry me because I really do think the market is just so young compared to something like comics that's been around for so long.
Yeah.
The collecting aspect of it, I mean.
Is it me, Greg, or are you the one? Do you have an ET sealed?
I did. That sold.
Oh, you sold it.
That sold, yeah.
Hey, Greg, how do you feel when you have a game in your collection that you could get rid of, you don't really want to get rid of, but when you do get rid of, you have a little bit of regret?
Yeah. So I have something I do with that. I never show it off. Don't ever show something off that you want to keep, because every time that I want to keep something, I show it off, somebody talks it out of me. So if I truly want to keep it, I don't show it. That's the truth.
so literally money talks with Greg.
It does, because I always think in my head I can find another one, and then I can use that money to get something else that I want to get.
Yeah.
You were saying that earlier. You were saying that, you have all these things and you want people to buy stuff from me. But for me, it's not just the money. It's actually having these things in my hands that I wanted so bad as a kid, or that I always thought about, and I get to have them even for a short while. That's just something really cool to me. The money's great too, but having those, I could do anything. I could be selling cars or whatever. You know what I mean? This is my passion. I could do this 20 hours a day and be happy.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, that brings up a good topic, and I'm going to start with you, Till. What's that one arcade game that you want? What's that one elephant that you've been looking for that you just want to have in your collection? And I'm going to be asking the other guys, what's that one game that you want in your collection, whether PC or to resell?
Yeah, that's going to be Atari Skydiver. Not a wildly popular game. I think it's from 1978. It's one of those games with very simple graphics, but the cabinet and the artwork are what makes the allure. It's almost like the artwork made the game exciting. Like most of the old Atari cartridges, the graphics were equally, if not more exciting than the actual gameplay. And this had a really cool theme. It had actually you pull on the ripcord from the control panel. It's like these metal loops that you pull up, and it's just a really interesting game. And I saw that at an arcade in Eagle, Idaho, quite a few years back. And I was like, I never played it as a kid, but it was something that it just drew me in, and I had to have it. And they're very, very rare. And I did find a guy who has one back east, and he's threatened to sell it to me, but it's been a while, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it from him. But that's the game. It's in very poor condition. So, but Atari Skydiver arcade.
That's I love that word. He's threatening to sell it to me. Right?
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about the console games, is that they're physical. You either sit on a bicycle, you sit in a cabinet, or you have a paper boy. I know, because I saw you play the other day. You have the little steering, you have the bicycle handles. That's so, I don't know, man. That's the kind of stuff that as a kid you kind of go like, oh, you really feel like you're driving that car because you're moving the steering wheel, right? Or you have the high and low of the Stick shift. So, what about you guys? What's that one game that you either want for your PC or you just want, but you can't find? It's hard to find. What is it?
For me, it's pretty simple. Um, I do console collecting. In the box, everything complete, and I think I'm almost all set with like the US releases. I'm doing like a little bit of Japanese now, but 2 years ago I started collecting the NES library, loose, of course, and I got up to the full library, 99%. I collected all of them. There was just one specific one missing, and Greg is going to smirk here. I don't want to buy it. I want to find it. I want to find it in someone's trunk, someone's attic. I want to find it at a garage sale, something like that. And I know that the chances of that happening are like astronomically low. It's a game called Family Fun Fitness or Stadium Events. And it's extremely expensive. They didn't have the rights to actually make it, so like they didn't really mass produce it. And the funny thing about it is, whenever you look at those old school Funko Land papers that show you like the pricing on everything, the last pricing was like 29 cents because it was just trash. But the value of it now, I think the lowest I've seen it for, and like dirt, beat up, stabbed in the alley condition, was like 10 grand. And the highest I've seen in like really good mint condition loose, like somewhere around like $25,000.
So when you say you're close to completing the whole, are you talking about the whole NES catalog?
Correct. Yeah. Well, the licensed catalog. Obviously, and I don't do the unlicensed. I could do it, and even that's starting to climb up. A lot of people are like, "Oh, unlicensed, I don't collect that." But now because it wasn't as mass produced, some of those games, Color Dreams, things like that, they're starting to come up in value as well. But the entire licensed NES collection, I'm just one game away.
That's awesome. That's started.
I'm impressed. I mean, I got to be honest. I'm usually not speechless, but I'm a little speechless. I mean, I am without speech. Greg, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's another one of those unicorns. It's the Nintendo World Championship, Nintendo World Championship, and the reason for that though is, as a kid, I remember watching that movie, The Wizard. I don't know if I'm sure you guys all seen that, right? The Wizard, and that kind of the World Championship kind of premised on that movie after the fact, where they were playing Mario 3. And that was the first time I ever saw Mario 3 was in the movie The Wizard. I remember seeing it in the movie theater, like I was a big Mario fan back then, obviously. So that was the first time I ever saw Mario 3. And then the Nintendo World Championship came, I think, like the summer after that movie came out. And it was kind of loosely premised on that idea where they go and they have a big tournament. And there were these cartridges that were made just for that event. And you can still find them today. I just looked it up, and the cheapest one I could find is like $26,000. So,
speaking of grading, nowadays they're grading everything, right? Video games, VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't realize, and I talked to Greg about this last week, I didn't realize that they graded whole consoles. I was not aware that they grade a whole console in a box, they put it in a plastic chingadera, and that's what we have. So
that's the exact term too.
Yeah, well, it is actually. So that being said, I didn't realize that what brought this up was this. I saw this, and I was like, all right,
Rob the Robot,
Robbie the Robot, Robbie Robot, NES, and they have it at an 85.
Mint.
This is on Golden, mind you. And if you guys don't know who Golden is, it's an auction house who recently partnered up with eBay. Am I right there, Greg? Right?
Yeah, they just got bought out.
They just got bought out. I remember seeing this commercial of this machine, and I thought as a kid, that's gonna be the coolest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. Right? You have this. This is 1986 deluxe set. I can't, with Zapper, mind you. I cannot imagine how much this was back in the day. Right? This is the question to you guys. How much do you think it's going for now? Right now, the bid.
In that shape.
And this one there, there it is. I just showed you guys.
I think it's going for 20 grand.
This thing
11
is
bids.
11 bids, current 20.
How many days left? 3 days. With 11 bids now, I would say that's probably going to end around maybe $31,000.
It's probably good. That's a good guess.
What do you think, Taylor? You want to go in on it?
No, I'm good. I'm good. That's it. That's crazy. I mean, I did see a whole set. I don't know if it was in the box. It was at SoCal Gaming Expo. Sometimes that's you can find. I mean, I walked away with 2 milk crates of Atari games for next to nothing, but they also had some really interesting stuff. A big Nintendo booth with a lot of cool things. And I don't know if it's anything that nice, but there were still some cool things. But that's some big money. Someone would be pretty stoked with that.
I'm thinking something in that mint condition. Either someone's dad worked at Nintendo or something like that, and he just happened to have that one box that they hardly ever played with it, and they hardly ever opened it, and put it in the garage, and then just put it away. How many things do we all have that we have regret giving away, or in my case, burning it, or lending it to a friend and never seeing it again? Do you guys have those stories? Do you guys have the stories growing up of a certain video game that you let your buddy at school borrow that you just met 2 days ago, but he seemed like a cool guy and then he moved away?
I think one of them was probably maybe my Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo. I borrowed it to a friend, and something happened where he was out of school for a while and never came back.
No.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
He got Turtles in Time game, and he said, "I'm out."
Yeah, that's
no more school for me, man.
He's living large in Colombia right now, by the way, with all that money he's doing. How about you, Tail? Was there something you had when you were a kid? You just like,
I don't have any regrets like that from a kid. I mean, I regret selling some stuff now, but as a kid, I didn't really lose much or have anything like that.
Well,
you just brought up a point. I'm going to come around to it. Greg, how about you?
I'm the same as Till. I didn't have very many toys to lose. You know what I mean? Everything I had, I held on to.
I guess I'm the only idiot.
Little.
I'm the only moron. I'm the only moron that fucking burned my Star Wars toys. So, count me that douchebag. But Till
didn't have a lot, so.
Till did bring up something. What's your biggest regret? What is your biggest regret of selling as an adult?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a huge regret, but I've held on to most all the games that I bought, and I've got a storage with a bunch more. So, but I had an APB that I got for a few $100s. It's an Atari game. It's like a police theme game. It's a pretty cool cabinet with the lights flash, and it has that classic Atari speech. And it gets a little monotonous, but it's a very cool game. And it's a nice nostalgic art piece. That one ended up being I sold to actually Gene at Vintage Arcade, and so that's the one that got away. I sold a couple games like that.
There's something about for me. That's why I don't sell comic books, my big ones, because I'm gonna have instant regret. I won't be able to sleep for days. I kick my dog, everything. I would be angry. I would be infuriated. How about you, Gil? What's that one regret?
I would say not so much a regret of selling, but more of a regret on passing on things. When I first started collecting, like really seriously collecting, there were a lot of things where I'm like, well, this just doesn't have any value now. I wasn't really thinking about long term. I wasn't really thinking about what things are going to happen, or this isn't valuable now, but it's going to be valuable later. So there were some things where, I'll say a garage sale, or I'll see at a vintage toy store or something like that, just super dirt cheap. And now I look at the prices on eBay solds or something like that. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I passed up on this, If it's a specific thing that I did pass up on, that I did sell, I had a sealed Pokemon Ruby, pristine condition. I had a sealed Pokemon Emerald in pristine condition. And just seeing those slabs now, what they're selling for, that kind of just, irks me a little bit.
Well, I kind of wish I was more like Till and just have no regrets at all.
Yeah, none.
Yeah, no, I'm not like that. I'm totally the opposite of Till. How about you, Greg?
Now, Gil brings up a really good point. I think that that's a valid regret, is not buying certain things that I could have bought that skyrocketed after the fact. And I was like, I'll get that. A lot of times I'll get that later. I'm going to get something else right now. I'll get that later. And then you see the prices skyrocket to the point, especially in 21. Luckily for me, I bought a lot of my gaming stuff in before 21. So I was good on that. But there were things that I pushed off that I didn't get until after, and I paid the price for it. On multiple of them, I did pick them up. But yeah, I paid handsomely for it. Because I do, like I say, I do collect games too. I don't just sell them. So
Yeah, the good stuff you keep for yourself, and then your doubles and stuff that like that you'll go. When the pandemic did start, though, I was in the middle of collecting the entire Game Boy and Game Boy Color catalog, which is about over like 800 games.
yeah.
And I got up to about maybe 750 games, and I realized just some of them were just kind of like lost, my love for it, and I went over back to NES. So I pretty much sold a lot of my commons and uncommon games. I have to say that one of the best things that I did was I kept all of my grails. So I have like a nice little tray in one of my collection cabinets, and it's all of the like super high end Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games, and some of those are really wild right now.
Oh yeah, Game Boy is hot right now for sure.
There is something about what Till brings up about the nostalgia of these arcade games, is the art. I remember when Warlord for Atari came out, and it was like this knight with the sword. I'm like, oh hell yeah! And I popped it in. I'm like, what the hell am I playing? It's just like boom, like little blocks, and it was like, oh, it's still fun. I get it, but that's when you had the paddle. The stupid ass paddle would shake. It had parking stints on its own, because you would just barely touch it, and it would be all over the place. I'm telling you, man, Atari was the beginning of my old man frustration. I think I blame Atari for me being bitter as an older man.
That's some badass box art, though. I mean, that would have sold any kid on some of those box art.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, the cool same thing with the arcades on the side of it, and the cool art. I think the one that I was really cool was Berserk. Is it Berserk or Berserker?
Berserk.
So,
Berserk and Frenzy. Yeah.
Berserk was one of my favorite games playing, because it was just you're blasting robots. I mean, how much cool is that? Out of your whole arcade, Till, which is your favorite? Which is the one you just like your go-to?
There's really not one, but I mean, Miss Pac-Man's the one I have the most nostalgia for. We used to play that. It's not maybe the best game, but it's we ate at the steakhouse as a kid. The whole family was there. Again, simpler times back when it was a slice of life, that there wasn't much. We were just a good kid time. And I remember I was sipping on my Roy Rogers soda. My sister's drinking a Shirley Temple, and we're popping quarters into this tabletop Miss Pac-Man. And those were good times. And I remember that and that experience. So that was actually the first game I got. But Miss Pac-Man, Star Wars, Tron, Dragon's Lair, and Pole Position those are the top ones for me.
I saw you play Tron the other day, and I thought to myself, I've never seen those levels before, because I sucked playing it. I thought Tron was the hardest game known to man, other than Dragon's Lair. I as a matter of fact, to this day, I still don't know how to play it.
I have to agree with you there, Caesar, man. That was, even now when you go to barcades and you see Tron, I love the way it looks, and I pass it up.
I won't play it. I held to the no. I'm not going to waste my quarter on that.
People have a love-hate with that game. It's hard, very hard for some, or they just didn't really like the gameplay at all. And for me, I gravitated. It was just the cabinet was so interesting, and then being in Southern California, going to Disneyland, and then they had the Starcade, and then there was the Tron theme in '82 when the movie came out. So it was just like more than, it was so interesting and amazing as a kid. There's a lot of wonder and excitement around that. So it was, but again, you hear the story. It was 4 games, kind of jammed into one, and it was confusing for a lot of people.
Trust me,
not an easy game.
I liked the colors. It was so Tron colors, right? The blue and off the block. It's awesome, absolutely awesome.
Do you guys remember your favorite arcade?
Well, yeah, it was in the mall, of course, in Carson, California, where I used to go to the mall, and it used to be called, I don't know what the fuck, because I don't remember. But I spent a lot of. You know what? I kind of wish I had. I wish they would box that sound when you first walked into the arcade, and all you heard was just the whistles and the explosions and the tapping of the fingers on the buttons. That's all you would hear the minute you walk into the arcade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the most nostalgic sound to me. If I was to hear it now, it would a wave, a synapses of memories would just hit my brain of that's the stuff, the first time I saw Ring King or any kind of boxing game, or
Yeah.
for me, Gauntlet was the game you go with your buddies,
Gauntlet's awesome.
right? And okay, who are you going to be? And who are you going to be? Okay, and who are you going to be? And you start screaming at each other because one guy sucks. And because that guy sucks, he kills everybody else because you got to wait and all that stuff. That's the good stuff. I mean, I'm assuming you guys have your own favorite arcade places.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was a kid. I'm not sure exactly where in Chicago it was. It was a mall. It was called Diversion. And just like you, man, you walk in, you can smell the carpet, the spilled soda, the click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, doo, 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 like I can still hear that in my head now,
The smelling of
sweet.
popcorn. What about you, Tiff? What was the one? What was your go-to place?
Oh, it was Chuck E. Cheese. That's where it was. I mean, it was kids' birthday parties, or we had a Chuck E. Cheese and also a Showbiz. I think it was still in the same area,
Yep.
which some think that was before they existed at the same time. So it's always like the kids' argument. Well, which one was better, Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz? And for me, it was Chuck E. Cheese. That had all the games where I saw dragons there for the first time. Moon Patrol.
Moon Patrol.
That was the one we went to the most. So it was pretty. Aside from some smaller ones and little liquor stores that, my buddy had a paper route, and every Sunday I'd stay the night at his place, or Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I'd help him do his route, and we go to the 7-Eleven and play, Paperboy and like WWF or something like that. So
Yeah.
That's what it is right there, man.
yeah.
I remember being a kid, like 1 or 2 quarters I had. I used to live off Cicero in Chicago, and they had a 7-Eleven out there, but it was called JJ Peppers. And I remember they had WWF WrestleFest.
Yeah.
I absolutely fell in love with that game. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Yeah.
What about you, Greg? What was your go-to?
There was a little pizza place down the street from my house that they had like a back room. In the back room was like a little arcade. They had 10 arcade games. There was a few in there like Street Fighter 2 and Galaga and some of those. But my favorite was Simpsons arcade game. I played that for so many hours. I couldn't remember. I just looked it up. It came out in 1991. It probably would have been around 92 that I played it. But at the time, that was the coolest game I ever played. I love that game so much. I played it recently, actually. I went somewhere they had that game recently, and I got to play it.
It's a great game. Yeah.
Yeah. All I remember is him swinging that skateboard. That's all I remember. Right.
Bart, I always wanted that game, and I saw this ad in Craigslist that said I could tell it's like that cabinet. It looked just like the same cabinet, and a Konami cabinet
Like that.
And it was at a construction site for $75. So I ended up getting going out there and getting it. And I didn't know about the cabinet shape, but either way, it ended up being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I restored it as that rather than the.
Hey, Teal, do you see the back of Gil right there? That teal cabinet?
Oh yeah, you got sweet. You got it.
That's awesome. I didn't even notice that before I said it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I got it for my birthday. It's not the classic one; it's a 1-up. But I saw it at a Best Buy, and I think I put too much emphasis into it. So my family, they're like, I come home one day after work. I'm like coming home from like LAX, and there's a gigantic box just sitting on my stoop, in my house, and it's the Simpsons arcade, and I had such a passion putting that together myself. I wouldn't recommend to anybody to put a goddamn 1-up arcade together by themselves. Buy it complete from someone like Caesar said earlier. They've lost in a divorce, or they're having midlife crisis and trying to get rid of it. But I did have fun putting it together.
What? I'm kind of curious. What goes into putting one of those together?
It comes out as all the pieces are separate. You got to put in the screen. You got to put in all the wires and everything in the back. You have to make sure that you're following the directions to a T. If you miss something, something's going to be missing. Yeah, I did have to unscrew a few things quite a few times.
So
But
Till's like been there, done that, right, Till?
yeah, I enjoyed doing it. But if someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to buy you one," no. I'll probably keep it in the box and enjoy it in the box.
Yeah, we got the kid a Street Fighter for his birthday 2 years back, or last year I think it was, and we were like, "Oh, we'll put it together the night before," and it was like ended up being it took hours to put this thing together. And once because you make a mistake and then the cabinet's like, "This doesn't fit," and you realize you did it wrong, and it's
what a nightmare. Well, it's thanks for the heads up. I'll make sure I have to buy one. Speaking of Street Fighter, when Street Fighter first came out, for me, I had to find some backdoor alley that no one knew the game's there, so I could actually have it to myself, so I can get better and play. Were you guys like that? Because every single time I would find a Street Fighter by itself and I would start playing it, all of a sudden that dude comes up, boom, 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 and he's kicking my ass in 2 seconds, And I'm like, this sucks, dude. And he put the 25 quarters up, like I'm next for the next.
I do remember that.
You're bringing up my trauma, man.
Oh man, and here I am using Blanc and thinking I'm pretty good. Some dude comes ding 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 ding. I'm like, you son of a bitch, Japan. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm done. I might as well just have my slushy and go home. Rampage is a good one.
Yeah, Rampage is a good one.
Rampage is a good one that you want to play with the buddy of yours, right?
With that, I got to take
Yes,
off.
I know you got to go. Greg, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk later. Yeah.
Yeah, hope to see you guys again soon.
Yeah, we'll get your eBay handle. Get some Atari out of your closet there.
I like collectibles. That's what he goes by. I like collectibles on AG.
Yeah. Let me know if you guys can. See you guys.
All right.
Speaking of Rampage, I actually am a very big Data East fan. I thought that they had some of the best arcades. I thought that they had some of the awesome, most colorful arcade cabinets. I thought Rampage looked wonderful. I liked Karnov and Bad Dudes
Bad Dudes, yeah.
Oh, Karnov also, I keep forgetting that these games were arcade games before they hit the NES, right? So Karnov was an NES game, I think. Yeah. That's the bald guy?
That's the bald guy that you had no idea what the hell you were doing in the game, but you still enjoyed it? Yeah.
So that being said, what's the hardest game you guys ever played? Or what's the hardest game you ever played for all platforms?
In the arcade or at home?
Well, arcade you can go for days. I already named a few. Right? I'm not gonna fucking play Dragon Slayer or Total. Screw that. Space Ace, I didn't even breathe that. I didn't even look at it. I couldn't even get that far with Dragon Slayer. Tron, forget it. Out of my league. I'm not even gonna try it. I'm gonna save my 25 cents. And I think that's it. For the other parts, I would dabble. But how about platforms like NES? What was that one game that, like for me, Indiana Jones? I never understood this shit. I don't know. I think I end up just eating it because it was just so frustrating.
For me, there were two of them actually. Even one I try to pick up now as an adult and I hate it to death. The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Very, very hard game. And Silver Surfer, another game that like the box art looked absolutely amazing. You gotta buy this game. You get it home. It's Silver Surfer, and it's such a hard it's a hard game. It's a really hard game,
They do that shit on purpose. How about you, Till? What are those games that are just frustrating?
I mean, these are going to be Atari 2600 games.
Sure.
ET, and which a lot of people hated. I always loved that game. I liked the game, thought it was awesome. I got through it, but that and Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, those two were pretty tough as a kid. And I remember beating Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't remember if I got through ET or not, but since the Instagram account, I had started playing those now, and it's like, holy moly, it's like triply as hard. I mean, I would think I'm a little bit wiser now, but I was trying to watch YouTubes and still not getting through it, but that was tough stuff. Love both those games though.
Isn't it funny that I think it was easier for us as a kid because now when I'm playing Ghosts and Goblins on NES, and I can't do shit with it. I can't even beat the first little demon that flies, and I'm going. I have a strong feeling I beat this guy when I was a kid. I don't know if I have less patience now. Because trust me, once I got my NES games back, the first thing I went was go on the interwebs and put in cheat codes.
Yeah.
I just beat Contra. Thank God for the up, down, left, right, A, B, A, start, or the shit with. I couldn't do it without the 30 guys.
Yeah,
But
no, neither.
it's weird how they're geared for kids, but as adults, I don't know. It seems like they got harder for some fucking reason.
It's funny too. There's a community out there, and I go down rabbit holes every night. I know I'm supposed to get like some solid sleep, the baby sleeping, so I could go to sleep. But then I'll see like some speedrunner do Simpsons versus Space Mutants in 10 minutes. Oh, he can't do this, and I'll watch it through. Or I'll see a speedrunner do Silver Surfer, a speedrunner do Ghosts and Goblins in like 15 minutes to try to beat the world record, and thinking like, man, like how much time and will did they have to do this? Because I'll play it just to play it like you, like just for fun, and then it just sucks the soul out of me.
It doesn't become fun anymore. You play to relax, and next thing you leave more stressed.
Yeah, it's funny. On one of the live selling shows that I have, the host will always ask me, "Hey, Gil, did you beat that game?" And more than likely, it's probably a no. I just like you just said right now, Caesar. I want to play a game that I'm actually find fun in, that I actually enjoy. You know, that I'm kind of disconnecting. So, like, I think I bought Elden Ring for like $70. I played it for like 47 minutes, and then I threw it on my shelf and never played it again.
Tail, do you have a certain platform you play more other than your arcade?
Yeah, I've got. I was gifted in television and from some of the followers that and a ColecoVision, and I got a Vectrex, and I bounced between those. I never had Intellivision and ColecoVision as a kid. I had a 26 or a VCS when it came out in the late 70s, and then in '82 it changed to a 2600, which I think we re-upped to one of those. But yeah, I would say I play a lot of it. I bounce between different things. The kid's really into Zelda. He never knew that like that type of game existed. He's really into it. I was never really into it. He loves it. And so we've been playing a lot of, classic NES lately. But I go between all of them now to shoot, content, and it's just brings back those good memories. But right now the family's playing a lot of NES. So it's pretty sweet.
Because I have a top loader NES, which, it's someone said it's pretty rare to get the top loaders. I'm like, okay, I didn't know. But everyone remembers the old Nintendo games, right? And there's a study that came out saying that people who blow into the cartridge is causing more damage than the actual what they were thinking was bullshit. I call bullshit. Every time I blew into it, it worked, man. Everyone had that trick as a kid. Mine was blow into stupid cartridge, sliding it in barely, so when I press it down, it's going to scrape the wall of the actual console, and then it's going to work. That was my thing. Did you guys I'm assuring you guys had your little shits, right?
No, you explained it the scientific way. That's exactly how everybody should have done it. And you have to hear the clunk when you actually hear the game come down and scrape against the console. That's how you know it's going to work.
It works 60% of the time.
Do you do left, right? Do you like shuffle it?
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, if you put it in, there's like maybe 1 or 2 degrees on each side of space. I don't know why. When I shuffle it, it worked as well.
Neo Geo, I remember as a teenager, that was the most expensive. I remember someone said the games are $200. I'm like, get the fuck out. But I remember
the games were like $300 or $400.
No, yeah, and I remember they were arcade quality.
Yeah,
I mean they were. You were literally playing an arcade in your home.
One thing I used to enjoy about Neo Geo is that they were so proud of their stuff. Whenever any game loaded up, they will tell you how much memory, how much memory was each game. They'd have that logo, that sound. It's like 346 megabytes or something like that. I forgot exactly what it was, but each and every game loaded up will tell you exactly how powerful it was. Yeah,
they're so full of themselves. You don't have that, do you, Tim?
No, I've got a Neo Geo big. They call it a Big Red. It's in storage. It's a 4-slot, but I don't have the console version of that. I've got the the arcade, which is pretty much the same.
Do you guys remember the arcade game that had big? It was a fighting game. They had the big buttons that you hit, that you smash. It was like a
That was a
karate
Street
game.
Fighter one that was
It
like
was a-
that.
I think it is Street Fighter.
Yeah,
Right. They had the big buttons, and you would just pound
Huge
the
buttons,
shit
yeah.
out of it. They don't do that shit anymore. I don't know what I don't know what happened. Is it the consoles at home that just completely just eliminated the whole arcade feel?
Yeah, it was pretty much video kills the radio star, just the other way around, you know. But
I mean,
Till,
if you compare, go ahead, Gil.
no, say Till, you had more on that.
Well, I mean, this theme keeps coming up. We all know about the Atari 2600, the VCS stuff, but once NES came out, you could actually have, like, we're looking at the box art of the 2600, and the art was more amazing than the game lots of times. You know, then you have the NES where you could actually capture some of that arcade experience on the NES. The graphics were really good for the
Right.
time. And it wasn't like stick figures when you're playing a game that was full graphics. I mean, you could get through Ghosts and Goblins or either or. I mean, it was still difficult. It had the good music. It had the same themes. There was a lot of games there. And I think as that progressed, you know, like Gil was saying, and technology changed. We can fit so many games in a computer. I mean, you can download MAME and play everything from your C64 to your Apple IIe games to I can play Zork and then jump over to, you know, a modern game like Rocket League. I mean, there's so much options and so many cool games out there. Then I can pop on a MetaQuest or a headset for VR stuff. So I mean, it advanced and there's so many more interesting things. So I mean, our kid will come and play. He of course will play Food Fight and Pac-Man on these, but it's not like these things just got invented yesterday. I mean, back when we were kids, I mean, you were controlling a television set. This was brand new technology. So it was the future's now. Now it's,
Right.
you know, so it's, I think at the advent, for me at least, once the NES came and the popularization of that and playing those games, that it actually felt I could get that feeling like I didn't have to go back to the arcade. Atari, not so much. I wanted to get back to the arcade, and that just held me over, you know.
I as an adult, I didn't realize that these bar arcades existed until I went to one. And it's like, well, look at that. I mean, you're having drinks and playing arcade games. It's basically you as a kid drinking a soda or a Slurpee or slushy and playing video games with your friends. But this time it's with booze, you know, still losing money, you know, still dropping quarters. If I don't know, man, it's a lost art, and like Till says, with the box art and the art on the side of these consoles, it really is. And this is why I commend someone like you, Till, that still kind of keeps that torch alive, man. It's so cool to the fact that you still have these, that you play them, you restore them, you fix them up, because without people like you, it become the dodo and it would just disappear.
I mean, it's cyclic like everything else. I mean, you have people prior collecting cars and these things. Now you've got the 90s kids grabbing their favorite consoles. I mean, it's consoles are starting to take over more and more. And we always want to get back to what was that simple time where we had a good feeling. You know, most of us had really amazing childhoods, and you want to get back to just grab a quick slice of it, not to live in the past, but just to remember a time that, or have whether it's a toy, a game, or a song, or anything, a smell, a taste, it just brings you back to some good times. We like to be reminded of those good feelings, and gaming was a great gateway to that.
And it makes you happy too, right? The other day, there was something went up on Facebook Marketplace. It was a TurboGrafx 16, and I haven't had one in a while. I have one in my box, but I try my best not to play my box consoles. You know, if I can get a loose one, I'll get one. And just so happens the guy lives like 10 miles from me. So, you know, I'm like, hey, I'll be right back in like 20 minutes. Here's my address, you know, God forbid I get, you know, kidnapped or whatever, you know, like Buffalo Bill situation. But I went there, and the seller and his wife were the sweetest people ever. Just walking into his house made me so happy. As soon as I walked in, on the left were 4 pinball machines like Kiss and Star Wars and stuff like that. And he's like, well, if you love that, and we stopped just talking about the TurboGrafx right there. He's like, let me show you something else. We walked down a few stairs. He has like his own little mini arcade with Robotron and Fix It Felix and the Sonic Blast Man with the punching bag, and it made me so happy that he shared this with me. This, and I made a friend. So it was fun to have that nostalgia kind of conversation. You never really get to talk about it a lot with friends and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that pick.
You just brought something up. When I think of you, Till, I think about those guys who do what you do, but with pinball machines, right? Instead of a garage full of arcades of game, it's all pinball machines. Now that's a whole different. For me, that's a whole different thing. To me, it seems like there's a lot of moving parts, or less than
a lot of parts.
I don't know. Maybe
also
more
triple the
parts in the
cost,
pinball
quadruple the
machine
cost.
to mess with. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, they're. I got a buddy who has. Well, he had half arcade games, half pinball, but now he's going all pinball. But they're still wildly popular. I mean, Stern comes out with amazing pinball machines. I mean, Williams. There's a lot of those companies that came out with amazing games. Gottlieb, who also came out with video games, Qbert, and same with Williams. But it's still really, it didn't really lose its popularity like arcade games did. There's still a lot of pinball fans out there, and they're very expensive, but also the gameplay is amazing. It's a totally different level. Really, really pretty cool. But yeah, there's pinball collectors. My buddy's got, I don't know, 20 of these things, and they are just, it's just next level. They say once you get pinball, that's the real addiction.
Well, I was gonna say, we talk about the box art and the art on these arcade consoles. The coolness of the pinball, the art, the way they light up, it's just some good stuff. I don't know why, but the Elvira one keeps popping up in my head. And I remember the very first time I saw the integrated pinball / arcade with like Miss Pac-Man or Baby Pac-Man, or
Baby Pac. Yeah, right.
Yeah, once you hit something, all of a sudden the screen pops up and you get to play, do that, and then it goes back to the pinball. That was like mind-blowing. I'm like, I can't wait for the future. And look what happened. The future came, and now it's video games that look like a movie. Now the actual box art does match the video game for once in its life. We got there, people. We actually got the box art to match the actual video game.
Do you guys play any modern games?
Modern games.
Newer games? I mean, 2000 and up, maybe?
I like simulation games. So one that my daughter was playing and she got me hooked on was Don't Starve Together. I thought that was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that one. Most recently, I like a lot of some people are going to kill me here. I like Bethesda games. So the Fallout series, Starfield was good. Skyrim, things like that. Open world.
I retired after PS2. PS2 came and went, and that was it. I stopped playing any kind of modern game. So,
what about you, Till?
Yeah, I got way into VR games. So I got the Oculus, and then I ended up, well, it was off Steam, got Half-Life Alyx, and it was just blew my mind on how immersive it was and how good the graphics were. And then there's a couple other ones, PC games that I went through, but that one in particular, and then or Star Wars Squadrons, which is pretty cool. I don't have a ton of time to play games. I'm not down in the arcade all the time, and I'm certainly not in front of my computer playing, but I'll download a few here and there, and just because the graphics and the gameplay is just so immersive, and it's so different. Back when games, you're collecting a score. I mean, it was first like what's your high score? Then it's, I mean, like you were talking, Gil, guys are going through speed runs of these, so there's something there. But now it's okay. You got to get these missions taken care of. Then it opens up a bunch more things, and it's a lot more strategic. I don't know if it's more strategic. It's just a lot more expansive. So, but yeah, those are a couple I play.
Is that the future? These VR games, these Oculus, is that the whole new thing now? That's where we're going.
I think so. I think it'll eventually be, maybe we're not wearing headsets, but it'll be not just game simulation, but it'll be, we could be sitting in, you could, maybe a modern podcast or video cast series is you set up the environment that we're all seemingly sitting in. Like we'll go into our certain room of the house of something, and it just beams the room to us, and it's like Gil's right there, Caesar's right over here, and maybe we have up in the corner we can see a picture of ourselves, make sure our hair's right or whatever it is, or we're holding up a product of some kind. I mean, I think it's going to become just like Star Trek, where they had that room where I don't know if it was the Next Generation, but it's the holodeck, I guess it was, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where I think that's where it's going, where you won't be able to discern reality from the game, and I think that'll be the twist that makes it cool.
That's a badass thought, though, too. Like, imagine if Caesar has a theme where it's like the round table, King Arthur's round table, and we all come to it together to have a podcast.
Hmm.
I would. It would be hard for me to pay attention when I'm looking around at everything, like it's a wonderful concept, it really is.
Technology can either be very fun or it can be very scary, right? Because when you have now deep fakes and people could also manipulate your voice and all that stuff, it could get a little wacky under the wrong hands, but it can be fun if you use it the right way. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I say funny you bring that up. It's I think that in a world where like you want something really quick and you could ask AI like, oh, I just want a rhino with the white hat, and it could immediately go into a file and find it rather than you guys trying to look it up. I love that concept of AI, but the idea that AI exists also to kind of like give misinformation or to mislead people, that's like the tricky part. It could be as helpful as it is going to be damaging. Hopefully it's more helpful than it is damaging.
Well, I think any great tool, like you said, there's that dual end. Like nuclear energy can feed energy and also destroy. And but I also think there's a new breed, or I mean, not a new breed, but people will come out becoming more savvy. They'll know some of those things when it seems like sus, then maybe we might right away. Where it seems like new, strange technology. Maybe my kid's going to look at that video and know that's fake. That's fake. And I'll be like, are you sure? Yes. So I think as we come along, as things advance, we might also become a bit more savvy to those things, or maybe not, or maybe we leverage technology items. But I feel like as we were growing up, we knew when something wasn't right, when maybe our parents weren't sure about it. I think we kind of progress with that type of thing. But technology now is getting pretty crazy. It's really interesting.
And that's why the old consoles, the old arcade games, the old pinball machines are worth more to me now than ever, because that's when you still have a chance to go back in time. And like Gil said, you put a smile on your face and be able to play something from your childhood, whether it be in your garage or in my room, playing, Mike Tyson's Punch Out and still getting my ass kicked, and a man of 52 years old and still getting upset. It's there's something about that is fine. It's
Yeah,
okay.
sometimes you just like looking at analog clock, and I think you brought up a pretty good bullseye right there. The idea that you could go back to these games and they will never change. They don't need updates. They don't need software updates. They will never crash on you, things like that. It always feels like the analog gaming nostalgia over like the digital stuff now,
Well, yeah, that's what people say, right? Oh, I like working on old cars because they're exactly what it is. You move these bolts, you remove this, and you replace it, and that's it. Where the cars nowadays, it's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't even want to look at it. Does this thing even have an engine? Or you open it up, you're like, I don't know what's going on. So it's the same thing. Like I got these games on eBay, and first thing I pop in the NES, and it's purple. Take it apart, clean off the pins, and pop it in just like new. And I was like,
there you go.
Just like that, right? It's everything's right in the world. So I got to tell you guys, when we talk about video games and we talk about whether arcade or consoles in the old days, what do you guys hope for? What do you guys hope for the future, for the kids? I mean, you're till your kid's in the dreamland, because he's going to grow up with dad having these games, and he's one day going to inherit these, and then hopefully one day he's going to have kids, and it'll be passed down. And is that like what you're looking for? You're like, I want this to be a family thing.
No, I mean that would be great, but I just want him to create experiences and memories that he likes and enjoys. If he likes the old stuff, great. If not, if he's just like super into Rocket League, but he'll look back at Rocket League and that'll be like, oh my God, remember when I was 10 years old and played Rocket League? I think I can only hope that he has some of the same experiences when he gets older. He can look back on and just have a nostalgic feeling and a good feeling about it, whether it's him playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which he likes, or Minecraft. I don't know if he'll want to take these games with him or not, but I just hope that he has the experiences that he likes. I show him these things, but I don't push him into these things because that would make it, I think, a negative experience for him. I want him to have the wonder and the excitement of it on his own. So I think that that's the best I can hope for, is him to create his own fond memories of times. And a lot of times it's showing his friends the arcade games or showing his friends certain things. And I think this is just like were you saying when you went to go pick up that game, Gil, it's like that guy was happy to share. And I think as we get older in this community, we like to share these things. When we were kids, it was like that. So I hope the same for him as well.
How about you, Gil?
I would love my kids to grow up with the idea of loving the new and the old, a kid who loves any type of music made today and also could dig some 80s music or, some new wave stuff like that, One thing I did appreciate is the fact that a lot of games they're making now, they are making with retro graphics, so like Undertale or Minecraft still gives the kids that nostalgic remembrance of what we dealt with when we were kids, as long as they're having fun, as long as it's safe, and as long as it doesn't really take away from going outside and actually doing things, I really don't have much to say on the matter, as long as they're having fun,
You want them to have the same experiences we did as kids growing up and having video games because that's what we loved. You want them to have the same experience, but in this time, right? Whether it be Rocket League, whether it be whatever it's in the now, VR, they're going to grow up and go, remember? And have this conversation with their friends and say, oh, yeah, remember VR? Remember the whole Rocket? Oh, my gosh, yeah. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that word in over 30 years, right? It's funny how we pass down. They're going to be doing this one point or another and talk about what's old to them, the way we're talking about now what's old to us. And whether it be anything, that's how we evolve. And I think all we want for our kids is for them to be happy and enjoy what they do. It's like sports. It's like I had a cousin whose his father put him in baseball, soccer, basketball, this and that, went to all the games. And then when he got to a certain age, he was over it. He was burned. He was done. I don't want to play anymore. I'm tired. I've been playing since I was 8. I don't want to go pro. I don't want to do any of that stuff. Until you kind of think about it, I made me think about it when you're like, I don't want them to have that. Dad, I don't like video games anymore. And later on, when you're getting old and you're having a beer, you're like, yeah, you kind of burned me out on them. It's like I didn't need to. I didn't know. The kids are just weird. And nowadays, kids are even smarter than what we were. 100%. Kids are smarter now than what because we didn't have the computers, we didn't have the technology, we didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all this stuff. We learned what we learned either because of a textbook or we saw it in a movie. That's it, right? And that's how I learned to do a lot of things because I saw it in a movie. I talked with my friends. We didn't have the internet to. We didn't have the. We had encyclopedias, and that's even there. So it's a different generation.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up too. Is that's the fascination and the great thing about games is that at any point in time you can just put them down, walk away. You had fun. You don't really have to do it anymore, you know. Or with some of those other things like sports, things like that. At some point in time, you kind of like lose your lust, your luster for it, like your passion for it, like what drove you to it. You know, video games, you know, you can pick up Mike Tyson 30 years later and still play it and still have fun, things like that. But the idea that now that it could be a job as well, I'm not sure that, you know, for some people they like to shit where they eat. But you know, I remember seeing a few years ago, some kid won like the Fortnite championship, something or another. And they panned over to his father when he won, and his father was in tears crying. And my mind, like, he's probably spending that money in his head because it was like $6 million that his kid just won. But to think that, you know, when our parents just say, "Oh, put that down, you're not going to make much of it," and
right,
your brain, and now it's somebody's job to play this game. You know,
it is true. There's money in this. All those years where your parents were like, "Stop playing. You're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna amount to anything playing these video games in your room." Tell it to the kid who just won $6 million, and the dad's like, "Shit,
playing some fork knife."
yeah, played the fork knife." Okay, well, listen, guys, this is one of those things that, whether it be arcade, whether it be home console, whether it be whatever platform I have an Intellivision, the Super Console one, the one that has like 60 games in it. I can't sell it. I can't sell it. Nobody wants it. It's brand new in the box. Never played with. So if you guys are interested, let me know. I can sell. Anyone's interested. It's sitting in my closet. I don't know why I may have it. Someone gave it to me as a gift. You know, and it's like, I wish I played Intellivision, but I don't understand that fucking thing. I don't, the cards and the box and the square. I never understood.
Do you have the one with the T9 on it, the 1 through 9 buttons? And
yes, it's the whole. It's the controller and it has all the packs you put in there. And well, Till, you know, because apparently you play on television. So I don't understand that.
A guy gave me a television, and those joysticks are just, or the whole deal's same with the ColecoVisions.
Yeah,
the same type of deal. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I really feel old. And these came out a while back, and I'm like, I don't understand. Where's the fucking joystick and a red button? You know, give me that stuff. You know, but there's money. There's money in these things, people. So if you guys have stuff in your garage, whether it be an arcade that speaking of arcades, do they sell those full arcades on eBay still?
Yeah, you can get anything on eBay. I mean, you're going to pay a premium, of course.
To have it shipped and all that, right?
That shipping must be wild.
I mean, I can ship a game I bought a game. Well, you were talking about Crossbow earlier. So I think that was 83 and 84 Cheyenne came out. And that was the fixed gun or the rifle that was there. That was the Wild West game. Now, definitely not politically correct. I mean, you're hunting down Indians and doing this whole thing. But back then it was just a fun, you know, light gun game as a kid. You didn't really know about that. But that game I got from back east, and it was probably, I got that, or actually Amber got that for me as a surprise. She actually went in, it was a quick story. I found the game, Craig, on Facebook Marketplace, and he's like, I was arranging the deal, and he said, sorry, someone else bought the game. I was bummed out. I've been looking for this game for a while. It was her that got in there in the machine.
Sweet.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. It's a great surprise. But cross country from like Chicago to California, depending on, you know, the time of year and the weight of the game, you're looking probably anywhere from $650 to $850, you know, to bring it. I'm not sure exactly. This is probably in the, you know, $650 range, $700 to ship it.
But there was one specific arcade machine that I remember seeing as a kid, and you're an expert on this, so maybe you'll know what it was. It was a black and white screen, and you got to sit on the back of a fire truck, and you had to try to get the fire truck through this small little video.
Oh, it was called Fire Truck, Smokey Joe's Fire Truck. That was, my friend and I have the unofficial world record in that. I've got it on my YouTube channel.
Really?
Yeah, they have the back where you're controlling the back.
Yes.
And you'd hit the side and it would go crash. You know?
Yeah.
It would say crash on it. Yeah, it's an awesome game.
I haven't seen that since I was like 9 years old.
Yeah, it's a great game.
And
talk about those games you see out there. I saw one for sale for $500 a few years back, and I'm like, I saw a couple of them come up, so I'm like, oh, I'll go pick that up again, and I haven't seen it since. I'll eventually find that, but that's a great memory. That's a good one. Yeah,
that's right. What a concept. Hey, let's make a game. where we drive the back of a fire truck, you know, and of course we loved it because, like I said, it's equivalent to jumping on a motorcycle, tilting left, tilting right. That's all you did. It's not like you popped wheelies or went forward. You just tilted left. What game was it? That was Hang On, right? I think that was.
Yeah, hang on, had that.
Hang
Yeah,
On.
a couple of them. Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild that kids. You just said shooting a crossbow or shooting a rifle and shooting at Native Americans. You know, I remember Cheyenne. The first thing I remember is pale face. That's all I remember.
Yeah, when you got the
yeah, pale face. That's all I remember as a kid. But we lived in a time where we had fun. We never took anything too serious other than losing money, trying to beat your friend's Frogger score. Um, that's it, it was such a simpler time to just enjoy it. And now we can't do that anymore.
Yep. Someone just brought it up in chat now that what they're doing now is doing trophies and achievements in certain games. So in order to actually get this specific trophy, you need to beat the game on hard, or you need to find all the orbs all over the entire level, or achievements on Xbox where you beat level 1 and you find blah blah, where it's kind of hard to find them. I think that's kind of getting people a little bit more interested in playing, especially if they're going in for achievements or trophies or whatever they call them now.
Achievements.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys coming out with world records now. There's kids that are, in their 20s, kids to me, they're coming out and beating some of these old games. It's pretty cool. They're getting like super world records, like just absolutely insane. Just crushing.
Too. Yeah, I just saw like the Super Mario Brothers, the OG Super Mario Brothers, the original black box. I think it's down to like 14 minutes now to beat it. I think that's with any warp run or any run or something like that. So, and when you look at the leaderboard, first, second, third place, it's like 14 minutes and 2 seconds and 3 split seconds, 14, 2 seconds,
wow.
5 old split seconds, So, yeah, people are still playing the old ones. Yeah.
How many times do you have to play something and do something in 14 minutes?
I don't know.
I mean, how much time did they put in?
A lot. One of my favorite speedrunners, his name is the Mexican Runner. He speed runs a lot of games. And one of them that kind of raises my anxiety every time I watch it is Cuphead, because that game was made just to piss off adults. That game is pure bullet hell. So he speed runs the entire game on hard mode and gets all of the items in each level. It's just amazing to watch him do it, because it's something that you will never even try. I think I put maybe 30 minutes into that game, and because I was at my friend's house, I didn't throw it across the room. Yeah.
Is because like I said, I'm not too hip on these modern games. Is Cuphead the one that looks like it's from the 1930s?
Yes, it's an amazing game. I love the way it looks. It's just
I love the way
graphics, but it looks like an old-timey Disney movie.
Yes, I love the way it looks.
Yeah, everything's just jumping and bouncing up like they're all dancing to the same thing.
It looks harder than shit.
If you don't play it, you should definitely watch someone play it.
Oh, I've that's how I know about it. I've seen people play it because it looks fun as shit to play.
Yeah,
but it also looks harder as shit to play.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and again, I would rather watch someone play it than to play it, because I don't want to get angry. Like you said earlier, I want to enjoy the game, and that game is not a game that you enjoy unless you enjoy, the will to beat it or just finishing the level, the satisfaction of that.
That's why I like watching certain people play certain games, especially when you were a kid, when you had that one friend who was really good at it, because you get to see levels that you've never seen before because you yourself have never gotten there.
Yeah.
Right. But your buddies can. They're like, oh, this is new to me. Right. I have Castlevania. I don't know what the fucking game looks like because I can't get past a certain level as it is. I'm a worthless player. I suck so bad. My wife doesn't mind me playing because I only play for about 10 minutes because then I get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I walk away. I'm not in here 4 hours, But I can imagine you guys have the support, which that's another thing to talk about, Till, and your wife surprising you by buying arcade games and thinking you lost out on it. And Gil, I'm pretty sure you have the support, of doing what you do. It plays a big part when you do any kind of collectible, when you have that support from your significant other girlfriend, wife, husband, you know, because without that, it's not. It becomes forced, and it's not so fun. It's almost like you're in secret, and when you have that one support system, it works, and it makes things a lot better to do things. And I'm pretty sure you guys have that support and love it. I mean, where would you be without it?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Till that earlier. Did you vent to her? Like, this motherfucker bought this and I really wanted it. Wait till I find this guy. And she was like, it was me, babe.
I was bummed. She knew I'd been looking for it for a long time. I was like, God, he sold it. He said he was going to sell it, but someone came locally and picked it up. And I was bummed out. But yeah, she's like, oh gosh, that really sucks. I'm sure you'll find another one. She's like fake looking up things in Craigslist, like search all Craigslist. Just
You know, that's cool, man. That really, it's actually, first of all, it's a good story.
Yeah,
I like hearing stories like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky though. She does we go live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and she, holds the camera, answers or reads out, everyone that comes on, like the different questions and things, and she's very involved in that. And I'm pretty lucky actually. It's been hard to keep this mind control for this long, but she's really supportive. I mean, she's not super into video games, and she's more of a 90s kid, but she enjoys it, and it's fun to. But I think you have to have that support. If not, it's just like, why can't we park in the garage, And I also made a rule: we don't bring games in the house. Although I broke the rule. I mean, we keep the games out there because I could stuff the whole house full of games, and then it's not a house. It's good to go into another room that's dedicated for that. You can put up all the posters and cool stuff, and then when you come in the house, it's actually a house, and not like a hoarder's setup.
So you actually have games that you don't have out, like on running. Do you have some in storage that you alternate, or how's that work?
Yeah, I have quite a bit in storage. I have a little over 50 games, and I don't know, it's quite a bit, but I have 35 that fit in the garage, and which I've jammed in there. And then I've got some in storage. So I'll rotate them out. Like I had a Dig Dug that I'll bring back in and maybe move back a Super Cobra. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I've got a mini Battle Zone that I'll bring out and then put in like a Monaco GP. So I moved Vanguard back recently and brought in a Wacko. So then there's some games that I'm restoring. So I'll bring them, rotate them in and out. Like I have a Centipede in storage that I'm going to bring in and trade out. That's Millipede. So, and then I picked up a pole position cockpit recently. And so I had to jockey some games around the garage. One game actually did go into the house, which is a Wizard of War that I'm building, but it's super clean. It's like brand new almost. So I allowed it to come in the house because I don't want these games are kind of, you have to clean them up and do a lot. And that one was like a brand new cabinet that someone had actually made for me that I'm building. So, but yeah, it's I rotate them in and out.
You kind of have to, I guess, if you have so many. I mean, you can't play them all unless you get a bigger house, unless you get a bigger garage. I mean,
that's the next plan. I think is we'll move here in the next year or so and have a little bit more. I mean, I have every game almost that I've ever wanted, but you bring up Fire Truck. That's like a nice to have, and there's a couple must haves, but there's a lot of nice to haves, and I think those are ones that when I walk in that room, they're just art pieces. I don't want to sit and play every single one. Maybe here and there, but just to hear that and be around them is like being around an old friend, or it's just a good feeling. And then seeing others get excited playing, it's almost like you're sitting on the couch playing Punch Out or something. You just get just a good feeling. I've got childhood friends that come over. We'll play some console games, and then we'll jump into the garage and play some stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Like I said, you're living the dream, pal. Because all of us as kids, we always wished. I wish we didn't have to put in a quarter. We could just play start every single time, as many times as we want, right? I mean, we all wish we had that because everybody wanted unlimited quarters. And you, my friend, you have the unlimited quarters, and I commend you for that. So, but we're getting toward the end of the show, people. You know what? It's always good to go down memory lane, whether it be with toys, movies, in this case, video games, it never gets old. No pun intended. And we hope it never gets old because that would make us even older. So it's always good to talk about it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys the floor each and tell the people where they could find you, what time's your show, what do you got coming up next, and let's start with you, Gil.
You guys could find us at 8bit_addict, ATTIC. We have live shows on IG through elite_collectibles11. We have a show tomorrow. So I just put up something in the story now. So if you want to just drop by and maybe take a look at some old games and maybe buy some old games or just take a walk down memory lane, definitely pass by. Give us a follow and a like. If there's a game you're specifically looking for on any console, we have everything here from 1972 up until 2023. So we definitely like the idea of the hunt, finding things, especially in the old consoles, and refurbishing them, making them look like they did when they first came off of the KB's floor, or the Toys R Us floor. But yeah, we're having an event tomorrow. So it's at 9:30 Eastern on elite_collectibles11.
Yeah, and he also sells games with the manuals as well. Sometimes,
Yep.
right? In the box
Yeah,
with the manual.
Loose with Manny's, complete in box, or as they call CIB. We have some sealed games still, so if you're into, I know that earlier, what is this gentleman's name? Was it Greg?
Greg, yeah.
Yeah, he loves his sealed games. So sometimes we find some games that are sitting in someone's attic or the back of a old movie store that closed down. We still find some sealed games. So tons of stuff.
Is it on? Are you on eBay or is it on Instagram, or can I see a listing of stuff?
eBay. We're on eBay, but I usually just use eBay as my record to find out what things are worth or what they've sold for. But at the moment, it's through our IG channel, 8bit_addict.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm already planning on what I want to.
All right. Here to go. Tell us how you can spend more money. Where can we find you?
Mainly on Instagram. That's my main spot I hang out. At Broken Arcades, my handle. On TikTok, it's broken _arcade, and YouTube Broken Arcade. But I go live every Saturday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern on Instagram. So each Saturday you can catch me there. But Instagram's my home base, so that's where I post every day, new content every day. Sometimes a few pieces. If you're into that 80s arcade nostalgia, you found a home.
Yeah. It's always fun to watch him because he plays and the camera's facing the screen, and you can get as frustrated as you want with him because I was screaming at the screen when I was watching him play Tron, and I was like, oh, don't do that. Well, anyways, he gets farther than I do. So gentlemen, ladies, thank you so much for watching tonight. It was a going down memory road. You can find me on Instagram with The Real Dracula's Wolf. And once again, if you need promo for any kind of reels, if you promotion for your business and you want a voiceover or reel done, I'm currently doing that. Any kind of voiceover you want, I'm your guy. The movie voice, people seem to like the movie voice. So in this case, good old Till, in a world where Till plays games. I do that. That's what I do for
That's
other
awesome.
people. Or Gil, if you want a Gollum voice, Gil says Sadie's. Stupid shit like that. I don't know. Support my ass. Thanks again. Thanks again, guys, for being on this. It was fun talking video games. Thanks, Greg, for I Like Collectibles. You can also find him on Instagram and on Facebook. He has an eBay store, the same name, I Like Collectibles. And catch us next week. Well, we have our movie review, our once a month movie review show with Mandy Michaels and Shannon Kincaid and my partner Dell, which couldn't make it because he's busy watching his kids play baseball, where we review movies we've never seen. We are the worst movie reviewers on the internet. We talk about movies we saw 25 years ago, and talk about movies we want to watch, but we still don't watch. We suck. But you know what? We're fun. We're a good time. Once again, guys, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the funny papers. Yeah.
Yeah, Caesar, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it, and good to see you,
man.
Gil. Meet you.
You
Likewise.
guys,
Take care, guys.
fantastic too. Thanks, man.
All right.